friends, I am so excited that you are at the Financial Literacy in Your Classroom workshop and that you are thinking about starting a financial unit of your own. You will not be sorry. My name is Cassie Nowak and I am a teacher and entrepreneur. I'm also the wife of an entrepreneur and the mom of an entrepreneur. We have a lot of entrepreneurs in our family. If you love beautiful things, you must go to Instagram and follow my daughter. Her handle is at lovelily.flowers, and she is the most amazing florist that you can imagine. Your days will be brightened looking at her work. I have a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies and a master's degree in educational leadership, and I spend my days working for Minds in Bloom and supporting teachers all around the world. And probably like you, I love having money. This quote, "Money is really only important if you don't have any," is one that I love. Money can sometimes get a bad rap. You often hear people say that money is the root of evil, or money doesn't buy happiness. And yes, that is true. Money doesn't buy happiness. But not having money is not very fun either. I grew up in a really poor family. I had me and my two sisters. My dad worked for the railroad, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom who supplemented our income a little bit through cleaning houses. And I had a very happy life. I had awesome parents. They loved us. They took great care of us. But I know it was hard for my parents to not have any money. I know it was hard when we were embarrassed to have friends over because our house didn't look like their house. Or when our mom had to take us to Goodwill in order to buy a prom dress. And I can't imagine the stress. Well, I can't imagine because I've been there as an adult, but the stress of sitting around your kitchen table trying to figure out how to pay your bills. Not having money is so hard. Luckily, I had parents that even though they didn't have money and even though they didn't really know how to manage the money that they did have, they did know the value of education, and they did know that if we got educated and we learned everything we could get out of the cycle of poverty. So we were so lucky. But there are millions and millions of kids around the world that not only do they have parents that don't have money and they live in poverty, but they also don't have parents that encourage them to get out of poverty. And so as teachers, we have this amazing opportunity to instill a positive money mindset into kids right when they're little. It's amazing. So I saw this post on Facebook just like a couple days ago. It said, "I want to be rich means." So when we say we want to be rich, we're not evil and we're not miserable people. We just want to get rid of our alarm clocks. We want to spend tons of time with the people that we love. We don't want to worry about paying the bills. We want to be able to afford to buy healthy food for our families. We want to help others when they need help. And we just want to do more of what we love. Money can be very freeing. So, a financial literacy unit is the best way to teach real world math. Just have a classroom economy and students will learn so much. They'll learn to save and spend and budget and invest. They will learn that in real life, we use math every day. All right, so classroom economies are awesome. They can be designed in a way to meet your students' learning needs and expectations. The students love having the responsibilities that come with a unit, and then students will learn in meaningful and lasting ways. You can integrate a financial literacy unit in your class without it taking a million hours of your day and without feeling overwhelmed. It is not wasted time. The life skills and the math skills that students will acquire through a unit like this, they are just so important. Plus, it is really good for classroom management. And the best part is students love it so much. You can see here are some of the pictures of my students during our market day and the fun that they're having and they're learning at the same time. So a few years ago, one of my very sweet homeroom moms had all of the students make me this little gift, and they all wrote these little sentiments. And look at them. So many of them, probably, I don't know, I would say 75% of the students at least mentioned our financial literacy unit. And that's because they loved it so much. And still, whenever I run into former students, they will say, oh, I remember when we did market day. And so it definitely makes this lasting impression on the students. All right, so there are 3 main components to this program that I came up with. So this is a culmination of years of trial and error, of doing something and it not working, tweaking it, doing something. And every year I taught, I just continued to improve my financial literacy unit so that it was meaningful and it was not too overwhelming. So the 3 components wound up being making money, managing money, and investing money. So making money, just like it sounds, students earn money. Now we didn't use real money. We used actually fake money that I bought at the dollar store. I would just go to like the party section of the dollar store and buy like fake money, and that's what we used. But you could print fake money or whatever you want to do. Then we learned about managing money. So students would learn to keep up with their money, keep it safe, and they would learn how to make decisions about spending their money. And then the last component is investing money. Students will make more money, and that is the best part and the most fun part for the students. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper into each of these 3 components, and we'll start with making money. So students must earn every dollar, and they do that through having jobs and bonuses. So let's talk about jobs. Over all of the years that I was tweaking and trial and erroring things, I learned that having too many jobs was too hard for me to manage and too time consuming. So there were times when I tried to have enough jobs for everybody, and I would switch them every day or every week. And what I found was what worked best was to have a limited number of jobs. So I had six jobs, and these jobs must be applied for. So it was really cool because it created a lot of competition in the classroom for these jobs. They wanted the money. And through that competition, there was excitement over the financial literacy unit. And also students filled out their application to get the job, and they learned to put their best foot forward and to find ways to beat out the competition and just to be competitive. I changed out the jobs monthly because I did not like trying to remember who was the one that's the line leader or who was the whatever. So for a whole month, the jobs stayed the same. So when you are thinking about setting up jobs, here are some guiding questions that can help you think through it all. What are some jobs that students can help with? I picked the jobs that I knew students could help with, and it relieved a lot of responsibility off of me. So one of the ones I had was a technology specialist, and that person was supposed to make sure that each of the laptops were plugged in. They helped other students if they needed, help with something. I also had a librarian because it was my pet peeve when our library was all a mess. So think about what are some jobs that students can help with. And then what questions should you include on the job application? So I put questions that would be on a standard job application, like why should I hire you for this job? What skills do you have that would make you good for this job? And I would even have a little place for the students to get a reference. So their parent or somebody or a former teacher would write a little note saying that, you should hire this person because blah, blah, blah. You'll also have to decide how much each job should pay. So I typically made my jobs about $30 a month, and that's because it was not like real life money, but I also wanted the amounts of money that students were responsible for to be manageable. And so I didn't want to be giving $200 and then have to make sure I have enough fake money to cover all of that. So I kept it really simple and scaled down the amounts of money. You'll also have to decide when is payday and how long does an employee's term last. So all those things have to be decided right from the go. Okay, so the other way students could make money was through bonuses. So students got bonuses when they got good grades or they had perfect attendance. Maybe they have improved on something or they're showing good sportsmanship. Really, your bonuses are a way to build classroom management into your unit. So it's anything that you're working on with your class can become a bonus. If I notice that students weren't really trying hard on their tests lately, I might say, okay, anyone who improves by at least 5 points since the last test gets $20 or a big bonus, something like that. So bonuses are a great way to keep your kids working towards the goals that you have for them. So the guiding questions here would be, what bonuses can students earn? So think through, make a list, make a poster, put everything down, and post it so that the students know. And then have surprise bonuses. Keep it fun. All right. So now that we've talked about how students can make money, let's dig a little deeper into managing their money. So I wanted to build financial responsibility into the students. So they learned to keep their money safe. So if they lost their money, they lost it. I didn't replace it. Now we had some character education where we talked about what to do if you find money. You should try and return it to the person or give it to the teacher, something like that. But ultimately, if it got lost, it got lost. And I wanted students to learn how to keep their money safe. We also did a lot of work with tracking money. We used registers and charts and graphs to see how much money they've grown, and it was really fun. We also learned about saving money. So students could open a bank account, which is just a simple Excel spreadsheet. You can also download this if you want to do this with your class. And I decided that the bank is open one time a week. I didn't want to be overwhelmed. I wanted the financial literacy always running in the background of our class, but I didn't ever want it to be overwhelming. So on Friday mornings, when the students got to school, they could unpack their backpack and then they could come to the bank and deposit money or withdraw money or whatever they wanted to do. All right, so here's some guiding questions about managing the students' money. How can we help them learn to be responsible? So we had some just lessons about what to do with your money. I got a book from the library that was about how to make things out of duct tape. And so the students made duct tape wallets to keep their money safe. Some years I just gave them a Ziploc baggie. You'll also need to think about if you're going to offer a bank, basically, and then how will students open that bank account? And will the bank be open for business? When will it? So these are just some questions to help you thinking in that direction. All right, so spending money. So part of being responsible with money is to learn how to spend and save money. So I did allow students to buy things from me. So I had some things like pencils, dry erase markers. I even had headphones, the things that students really needed to be successful in class, but they always lost them. And so if they lost them, they could buy some from me. So a pencil would be like $1 and a dry erase marker would be like $3. So I would let the students buy from me, and some years I would let them buy things from each other. If you decide to do that, just know you're going to have a lot of rules and procedures and expectations around that because it can get crazy. They can be trying to have a transaction right in the middle of circle time or something. So just know that that may work with some groups of kids and it just may not work with other groups of kids. You'll have to figure out your kids and decide. You might also decide that you want your students to pay rent. So a lot of teachers that have classroom economies, they have their students pay a desk fee or something like that. I never did that because I always was of the mindset that if a student is coming to school, really they're coming to their job, and usually your employer will provide things like a workspace and materials and things like that. So you can decide that. So here are some guiding questions for still managing your money. Will students have monthly bills? Can they purchase things from a teacher? If so, what are they? How much are they? You can make a poster and post that up so students know. Also, if you decide to have students do that, be responsible for purchasing like lost items, do it with consistency so that they know my teacher is not just going to give me anything. I have to earn it. And then you'll have to decide, can students purchase things from other students outside of market day? So we are going to learn about market day, which is the students' favorite part for sure. All right, so let's dig a little deeper into investing money. So the students will invest their money by creating a business plan and by selling products or services. Now, your students will get really creative through this part. I've had students want to invest in other businesses, which is not something I planned for or thought of, but when it came up, I was like, why not? So if you want to just invest in another business, you've got to make sure you draw up some kind of contract and the terms of that. So there are so many cool conversations that come up through all of this. Ultimately, you are going to be training students in entrepreneurship. So they are going to learn how to start a business. They are going to create a product or a service of some kind. They'll learn how to market it, and they will learn how to reflect on their success and change it up, make it better, and so forth. So, how do students even start a business? Well, in order for them to be successful, they are going to need a lot of guidance. So I had a little paper that was kind of like a flow chart that helped them think through anything that could happen while they're selling their things. So for example, I might say, okay, what's something you're interested in making? Can you make this? What happens if no one's buying it? What could you do if you have leftovers? So basically just some guiding questions to help them think through the entire thing. The other thing is just encouragement. So the more you encourage the students, like, oh, it's going to be so fun. You are going to see everyone's going to love your product, all of that, the kids will get excited. And then also support is really important, especially if you teach in maybe a low income school. You'll want to make sure that the students have the tools they need in order to create a successful business. So maybe they don't have parents that can help and guide them. So maybe, once a week or something, you could have maybe a little club before school starts where the students can come in and you can help them. You may also have some little crafty type materials on hand that the students can use. So support them and try and muster up support from their parents as well. And then the other thing that you're going to be responsible is to setting up a market day. Basically, it's just allotting a time to do that. So I just had the students, you can see in this picture right here, I just had the students use their desk and they set up their little business at their desk. So there's not a lot to do on the teacher side except for just dedicate a time to do that. So in facilitating market day, you are going to have to determine who is going to be a producer and who is going to be a consumer. If your whole grade level team is doing this, you can do this by class. But if it's just your classroom that's doing this, you can break your class into two groups, the buyers and the sellers. You can either let them choose what they want to do, or if they all want to do the same thing, you might have to draw names or something. But then it flips. So we did quarterly market days. So the first quarter, which we held the market day on the day that we got the report card. So the first quarter, half of the class was the producers and they sold, and the other half bought. And then the next report card day, it flipped. And then the third report card day, the students got to choose which one they wanted to be. After the market day was over, which typically I would let the producers stay in during recess and set up their stores. And then after recess, we would have the sell, usually about 30 minutes. Most of the years, I would invite parents to come and I would give the parents some of our classroom currency to spend. So it was a lot of fun, but it didn't take too much time. After the sell was over, though, I did provide reflection time. And both the producers and the consumers reflected on the experience so that for the next market day, they were even more successful. So market day is over, but the cycle just keeps continuing. My program is a year-long program, and the students get better and better skills as the year progresses, and they get more and more money as the year progresses as well. So it is a whole lot of fun, and the more you think about it and plan it, the less it's actually going to be a burden to you. It's just going to be fun. You're going to love it, and your students are going to love it. And you're going to be the cool teacher that gives exciting experiences to the students. So let's talk about how you are going to facilitate this. And I'm doing this through a timeline of how you can implement all the steps. So before school starts, just think about, choose your jobs and salaries, decide how students are going to be chosen for a job, decide what your bonuses for students might be, if you're going to have expenses, are you going to have a bank, what's your currency going to be? Those are the kind of things to kind of get in mind before school starts. In the beginning of the year, you are going to introduce jobs and job applications. You're going to introduce bonuses so that students know how they can make money. You're going to hire your employees. You might introduce bank accounts and when the bank's open, and you're going to introduce market day. And that's really what's going to get all of the students excited. So every month, at the beginning of the month, you might take new applications for jobs. You might hire new employees, and you might have students record how much money they have. So you can see this boy has got quite a lot of money. He looks happy. And then things that you're going to repeat quarterly are to choose who is going to be a producer, who's going to be consumer, and hold market day, and make your students reflect on their work that they did. The very end of the year, we had a lot of students with a lot of money. So we always held an auction so that everyone could spend all of their money. Since we used fake money, it had no value outside of our classroom. So what I did is try to teach a little lesson on giving back, and we talked about donations, and each student was responsible for donating 2 things to our auction. So they had to be things that their parents signed off on them donating, which I had to learn the hard way because I had some kid trying to donate some kind of video game one year, and then it turned into a fiasco. But the students donated 2 items, and then I just was an auctioneer, and I held an auction, and I started with prizes, and the students spent all their money. It was really, really fun. So we talked a lot about a classroom economy or a financial literacy unit, and we talked about the 3 main components, which are making money, managing money, and investing money. And then we kind of talked about how you can facilitate that in your classroom. I want you to know that you can do this. I started with 2nd graders, actually, and it was very simple. And the next year was a little more complex, and I moved up to 4th grade eventually, and so it got a little more complex. But after years of trial and error and really building this program, I think what I'm teaching you today is a great foundation for starting it in your own classroom. So you can download the guiding questions that I had so you can fill it out like a workbook. You can also download the timeline to help you implement all the different things, and you can even download the Excel spreadsheet. And you can get going on thinking through and starting your own things. Now, if you feel overwhelmed by that, Minds in Bloom has a complete done for you financial literacy kit that has everything you need. So if you're interested in having a done for you, it's only $10, so it's not a huge investment and it will save you a lot of time. Then you can continue watching this video, and I will show you each of those components and how I use them so that you're ready to print them and go. If you are feeling good and confident and you just want to get going, then I just want to thank you for coming to this, because I know that your work with students can make a huge difference in our world. Imagine if all children developed a positive money mindset and developed some skills to learn how to make money and manage money and invest money and set themselves up for a very nice life that money can help provide. Anyway, so thank you for coming, and I will see you later. And if you're sticking around to learn more, then let's get going. Okay, so if you have decided that you want to have a classroom economy, then awesome. I'm so excited for you, and your students are going to love it. So you can hop over to our TPT store and purchase this. The link is in the description. It's $10, but it will get you ready to go for the year and save you so much time. So let's look and see what actually comes with this resource. So the first thing you're going to have is an implementation calendar, and this one has a lot more details. It's broken up by weeks and quarters, and then each week the activity is listed that you need to make sure you're paying attention to, and then the resources that go with that activity. So you'll also need to get some sort of classroom currency. So you can print the piggy bucks that come with the kit. Maybe you can print them on green cardstock and cut them out. I reuse my money, so when students turn it in to pay for something, it just goes back into my cash bank and then I reuse it. You can also just go to the dollar store and pick up toy money. Basically, I find it in the party department, and to me that is just much easier than having to print and cut out. So whatever you want to do, you will need some classroom cash for this. Also, the students can have a graph to keep track of their money. So the graph comes in 4 different scales. So they can start off with $0 to $50, and then as they collect more money, they can go from $0 to $500. So this is a great way to motivate your students as they see their money growing in a graph. It really excites them, and it is such great math skill. All right, so the first thing you'll kind of need to think about are what jobs that you'll have. So there are a couple of posters that you can print and make a bulletin board section somewhere in your classroom with the different jobs. And these are the 6 jobs that I have tweaked over the years and found that these ones just worked perfectly for me. So each of those jobs comes with a job description that outlines the job duties, the qualifications for the employee, the salary, and the term of employment. All of this is editable in the PowerPoint file. You'll just need to make sure that you download the font that I have as the titles so that it looks the same when you go to print it. One of the jobs I have is a custodian, and they just help me keep the classroom nice and tidy. So there is a messy desk find that you can choose to have the custodian use in order to find students who aren't keeping their area clean at the end of the day. So that is the job descriptions, and you can add your own jobs or tweak these to however makes sense for you. And there's also a job application. So the students will fill out all of this information, and then you will decide who's going to get the job for that term. There's a tracker, well, there's 2 different versions that you can choose to use. And I just like to keep track of who applied for it and who got it so that I made sure that every student had a chance to have a job. I didn't make the student fill out a new job application for every time they wanted to apply. If they applied for personal assistant and I already had that on file, I just kept it and let them apply that to the next time I went to hire. I did encourage them to fill out a different job application for each of the jobs, just because I feel like the skill level and the qualifications, the questions that are on the job application can be tweaked to go with the different jobs. So if they filled out one for a specific job, they were much more likely to get that job. So there's also the idea of having a bank. So you will get the Excel spreadsheet where you can keep track of your students' bank accounts. There are tabs along the bottom for up to 25 students where you can just assign each tab to a student. You can rename the tab by the student's name. If you have multiple classes, you can just have 2 copies of the file. And that's what I did because I always had a switch class. The bank application has 2 options for the students to choose from. Plan 1 has no minimum balance, but there is a monthly fee, and Plan 2 does have a minimum balance, but there is no monthly fee. So the student can read about the different plans and have to make a decision on which plan they want. There's an alternate version that only has 1 basic plan, so it makes for your accounting a little bit easy. So it's going to depend on the students. My students would get so excited about It was kind of like the more realistic, the better for them. And so I always use the 2 plans, but you definitely don't have to. There's some deposit and withdrawal slips included, and I use these so that I didn't have a long line of students whenever it was bank day. So they would fill out the deposit and withdrawal slip and attach their money with a paper clip and put it in a drawer that I had, and then I got to it when it was convenient for me to update the bank. And the students also had a check register where they could keep track of anything that they spent. There is also a set of debit cards where you can give each student a different number at the end of the debit card, and they can sign it, you can laminate it, they can keep it in their desk or their wallet. And there is also a set of printable checks if you want students to learn how to fill out a check. I found that even though in real life we don't write checks very often anymore, the students love having checks and writing the checks. So once you are ready to think about your market day, when students will have their business and buy and sell from each other, you can create this poster. So it's just 4 pages that come together to get kids excited. And then there is a parent day letter that you can send home too. It has a list of frequently asked questions, and it gives them some more information about how to help their student with their business. It's editable, so you can tweak it to whatever you need and to make it perfect for your classroom. So as the teacher, you are going to have to decide how you want to run your market day. I usually split my class in 2, or if I had a switch class, I would have one whole class be consumers and the other whole class be producers. Sometimes I let students pick. So there isn't one right or wrong way to do this. But there is a producer and consumer cards that you can cut out and have a drawing. If you want, if everybody wants to sell and you need to split it up, you can have them draw. There's also a tracker for the teacher to keep track of who is this market day's producers and who are the consumers. The market day planning sheet is for the student. And I had them turn this page in on the day of market day. So they would turn in the name of their business and who was working on that business, what their products were. They would give me a list of their expenses and figure out costs and things like that. So it just helped me know that they were thinking ahead and working on their business before the day came to sell stuff. All right, so this is the most important part, and this is how students are going to really think about creating their business. This is a planning map, and they'll start with number 1. Do I want to work with a partner or do I want to work by myself? They'll think about it, answer it, and then follow the directions. So they'll go on to step 2. And they work through the entire thing, which walks them through basically how will they need to price their items. What are they going to do if no one's buying them? How are they going to market them? So it walks it through a whole lot of guided questions to help them be the most successful that they can. After the market day has been held, I always have students reflect, and these are the reflection sheets. One is for the consumers and one is for the producers, and it walks them through kind of how the day went. It helps them to reflect about which other students were successful and why were they successful, and ask them to think about the next one and how they can improve their business even more for the next one. This is a very, very important piece to the financial literacy unit. All right, I also have a link to a Pinterest board that you can share with parents or with the students. And these are just ideas that I've been collecting for years that have just a lot of little things that kids can make and things that kids would want to buy. So it just helps to spark the imagination a little bit. If you choose to allow students to use debit cards or checks to pay for their items during market day, then students that are selling are going to need this transaction amount, this transaction sheet basically, to keep track of the amount, the customer, what their debit card number was, have them sign it, and this is what they'll turn into the teacher so that the money can transfer hands. So the teacher will actually take the money from the buyer and deposit it into the seller's account. So you definitely do not have to do this. But I found that when you give the students the opportunity to use a debit card like we do in real life or a check, they have so much fun with that. They really start to feel like a grown-up and they love it. So use it if you want to. If it seems like too much work, then don't even let it be an option. Okay, so we talked about how the cycle of the market day continues every quarter. So they are making money, saving their money, investing in their business, selling money, either spending or making more money, and it just keeps going throughout the entire year until the end of the year is arrived and all these students have all this money. It has to be spent because it has no value outside of the class. So I have a parent letter that you can send home talking about the auction that's going to come up and some auction tags that the students can attach to the item that they donate. And then they come in and have the auction on like the last day or the last week of school. It's a very exciting time and the kids love it. So that is all of the resources that come in this kit. And for only $10, it's pretty much everything that you're going to need just to help keep things on track and to help keep you from having to think too much and do too much. So if you would like to purchase this set of resources, the link is in the description. If you have questions, there are more links in the description to our Minds in Bloom Facebook group and our Minds in Bloom Instagram. And you are welcome to come on there, ask any questions you need, send us a DM, and we will get back and try and help you answer any of the questions that you might have. So I want to really encourage you to get excited about this. Don't be overwhelmed and intimidated. If you need to, start small. Just start with class jobs and money, and then as you continue in the years to come, you can build on it more and more. Don't feel overwhelmed because you can do this and your students will love it. I hope that you feel inspired today to start something amazing in your classroom this year. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you at our next workshop. Bye!